Mortal Kombat. The empire of fighting games that exploded into movies, TV shows, comic books, toys, you name it. A dark fantasy world of kung fu warriors, powerful sorcerers, and absurdly graphic violence. All brought to life by John Tobias and Ed Boon. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. Well, maybe not quite the same way I do, because here's where I clumsily attempt to segue into the actual point of this video. There's a good chance your Mortal Kombat isn't exactly my Mortal Kombat. You see, I'm old. Ancient, even. Like, born sometime after the invention of cardboard in 1871 old. Which means there's a decent chance we did not grow up with the same version of Mortal Kombat. And mostly due to the fact that Mortal Kombat has gone through 3 pretty distinct eras. The original era, starting with the first game in 1992, the 3D era, which technically begins with Mortal Kombat 4, but really kicks off with Deadly Alliance in 2002. And then there's the modern era, starting with the reboot, Mortal Kombat 2011, which released, well, in 2011. During the 3D era, specifically starting with Mortal Kombat Deception, the series did something wild, unprecedented at the time, something that almost no other fighting game does. It introduced an actual story mode. Now listen up, young game enthusiasts. Back in the lawless days of the 90s and early 2000s, fighting games didn't have story modes. In fact, they barely had stories. Most of the time, you got this thin thread of plot points, just enough to justify why these people were punching each other in the face. And each character had their starting point and an ending point in that thread. That was it. And when a new game came out, good luck figuring out what was still canon and what had been completely thrown out the window. Across the board, continuity was more of a suggestion than a rule. At least, that's how I remember it. Looking back, I gotta wonder, was it really as hard as I remember to follow the stories just from the games themselves? I mean, thanks to later releases like Shaolin Monks on the PlayStation 2 or Mortal Kombat 2011, both of which are essentially story-heavy retellings of the original games, plus additions like the comics, cartoons, and other media, I know the general timeline and what each game was supposed to be communicating. But here's the question. If I were to strip all of that away, no outside media, no retellings, no hindsight, no newer games, and I tried to understand the story only through the original games as they were released, would that be possible? Or was my memory right all along, that trying to follow the Mortal Kombat plot in real time was like untangling a web of half-finished threads, contradictions, and straight-up rewrites and lies? Well, today that's what I intend to find out. Today I want to run a little thought experiment by going through each of the early Mortal Kombat games and dissecting them, trying to pull the pieces together to see if someone who only played those games could possibly figure out what the actual hell was going on. Before we get started though, if you like Mortal Kombat fighting games or just discussions about gaming in general, how about you hit that like button down there and maybe even subscribe. I'm currently in the middle of a big shift in channel focus, trying to make more content like this where I review, analyze, and or discuss a variety of games. I'm also so grateful and excited to announce that I recently hit 500 subscribers, which I know isn't a huge number, but I started this year at barely 200, so I'm really excited about that and really thankful to everyone that subscribed. Thank you so much for your support. You can also follow me over on Twitch, the link's in the description. Thank you and enjoy. And so we find ourselves back in the magical year of 1992, with the famous words, Goro Lives. What exactly is a Goro, you might ask? Well, you stupid idiot. Goro's clearly a 2,000-year-old half-human dragon. Goro remains undefeated for the past 500 years, obviously. He won the title of Grand Champion by defeating Kung Lao, a Shaolin fighting monk. Duh! It was during this period that the tournament fell into Shang Tsung's hands and was corrupt. What? Okay, so our first bit of lore does not give us a lot to go off here. We know there are 3 people now. We know there's Goro, the champion of the tournament, which is Mortal Kombat? Question mark? There's Shang Tsung, who corrupted the tournament, and there's Kung Lao, the former champion of the tournament who lost to Goro, who is a half-dragon, half-man, four-armed monster. But that's our basic setup. There's a tournament, the tournament's been corrupted, the current champion of the tournament is a half-dragon, half-man, and we're gonna have to punch him in the nose. Also, that old decrepit bastard in the background right here, that's Shang Tsung. He moderates all your fights, he's assumedly the one that's actually in charge of running the tournament, and also we find out from the select screen that he's actually the main boss of the game. So we get to add another actor to our cast. We still have no clue who Kung Lao is. And unfortunately, we don't really get to know. So let's move over to the rest of our cast for this game then. So for our main cast of the game, we have 7 characters. Johnny Cage, Kano, Raiden, Liu Kang, Sonya, Sub-Zero, and Scorpion. Real quick, we're just gonna blast through the bios for each of these characters because there's really not that much to them.
Johnny Cage.
A martial artist superstar trained by great masters from around the world, Cage uses his talents on the big screen. He's the current box office champ and the star of such movies as Dragon Fist and Dragon Fist 2, as well as the award-winning Sudden Violence. Johnny Cage is a character that feels like straight filler. He is exactly 2 things. He is a martial artist and a movie star. It kind of makes him feel like he's gonna be a joke character because he's got nothing going on past that. Time will tell.
Kano.
A mercenary, thug, extortionist, thief. M-Dash, this was written by ChatGPT. Kano lives a life of crime and injustice. He is a devoted member of the Black Dragon, a dangerous group of cutthroat madmen, feared and respected throughout all of crime's inner circles. So this one kinda has the same thing, where he's a martial artist and a criminal. Though, bringing up the Black Dragon is interesting, a named crime organization that we now know about from one of these very bare-bones bios. That's great info to have. Not only is he a criminal, he's part of the Black Dragons, which apparently means he's known throughout all of crime. Whatever that means, John Tobias. Crime knows him.
Raiden.
The name Raiden is actually that of a deity known as the Thunder God. The deity is known as the Thunder God, but it also goes by Raiden, who is the Thunder God. Okay. It is rumored that he received a personal invitation from Shang Tsung himself, and took the form of a human to compete in the tournament. So this one's kind of interesting. So Raiden is the human form of a god, known as the Thunder God. I assume that means he is a Thunder God. But also, he is rumored to receive a personal invitation from Shang Tsung himself? Does that mean they're friends? Does that mean Shang Tsung wants him to be there? A lot of questions, not much explained.
Liu Kang.
Once a member of the super-secret White Lotus Society, Liu Kang left the organization in order to represent Shaolin temples in the tournament. Kang is strong in his beliefs and despises Shang Tsung. So Liu Kang's actually is the most plot relevant so far. It does bring up the White Lotus Society, which is pretty cool to have another named organization, which is a secret organization of monks, apparently. But also, it brings up that he's fighting for the Shaolin. If you'll remember, the Shaolin used to host the tournament when their champion was Kung Lao. But then Kung Lao lost to Goro, the four-armed half-man, half-dragon. And now it's corrupted, so Liu Kang is fighting to uncorrupt this shit. That is the most straightforward and plot-relevant bio we've gotten so far.
Sub-Zero.
The actual name or identity of this warrior is unknown. However, based on the markings of his uniform, it is believed he belongs to the Lin Kuei, a legendary clan of Chinese ninja. We do get a name drop for the Lin Kuei, but other than that, we pretty much get nothing from Sub-Zero. He's a ninja. He's maybe Chinese. That's all we get.
Scorpion.
Like Sub-Zero, Scorpion's true name and origin are not known. He has shown from time to time distrust and hatred towards Sub-Zero. Between ninjas, this is usually a sign of opposing clans. So, we get less from Scorpion, actually. We know that Scorpion's a ninja, and he does not with Sub-Zero. That is all that we know about Scorpion. We get basically nothing here.
Sonya.
Sonya's a member of a top US Special Forces unit. Her team was hot on the trail of Kano's Black Dragon organization. They followed them to an uncharted island where they were ambushed by Shang Tsung's personal army. So we get a little bit of lore here. So the US Special Forces is after the Black Dragon, and therefore Kano. Also, Shang Tsung has a personal army that apparently kidnaps people. I'm beginning to think that this Shang Tsung guy might not be very nice. Also, I think the implication is that Sonya Blade is being forced to compete in the tournament because she got kidnapped by Shang Tsung, which is a weird punishment for trespassing, honestly. Okay, now we know everything about our characters that we get to know before actually playing the game. In order to get any more information out of the game, we're gonna actually have to play it and beat the game with every character to unlock their endings. Now, when we talk about endings, I want to make it abundantly clear we're going to take each one in its own bubble at face value. That's where we're pulling from. We are pulling from what the game presents us with. With that being said, let's start at the top.
Johnny Cage wins.
Through the battles and life or death situations faced during the tournament, Johnny Cage learns the true importance of his fighting skills. He also realizes the full potential of the tournament. He returns to Hollywood after defending his new title as Grand Champion. Cage goes on to film Mortal Kombat the movie, and its many successful sequels. I wish to immediately take back the thing I just said. You don't have to be a rocket scientist here to see that this is a goof ending. This is not the real ending to the story. This is a joke ending for a joke character. I don't think anyone would have looked at this and gone, I can't believe the story ends this way. No, it's ridiculous. Moving on.
Kano wins.
I'm gonna be honest, straight up, I think Kano's is the most insane and confusing ending. With the defeat of Goro and Shang Tsung, Kano will bring his own brand of treachery to the tournament. His Black Dragon organization forms a monopoly over the contest. That brings shame and torment to all those involved. Their reign will end in anarchy and death. It will result in the final dismantling of the tournament and the Battle of the Sands.
Excellent.
Where do I even begin with this one? What do you mean he created a monopoly out of the tournament? What does that mean, John Tobias? How does one monopolize a tournament? Does all of crime now fall under Kano, and also all of crime has made sure that no one else can do a martial arts tournament? I don't understand. Secondly, what in the is the Battle of Sands? What does that mean? You can't just say that like we all know what that means. I got nothing for this one, because it's just insane.
Raiden wins.
Raiden's victory comes as no surprise to him. He was never impressed by Shang Tsung's inferior sorcery, Goro's brute force, or the challenge of the other contestants. He quickly becomes bored with his mortal competition, and soon invites the other gods to participate in the contest. The ensuing battles rage on for years, and the wars result in our world's final destruction. Have a nice day. Hey, so the Thunder God Raiden, also known as Raiden, also known as the Thunder God, is crazy super evil and f***ed up. I guess we do get to know more about Raiden, how f***ing crazy he is, and how he literally has so much bloodthirst that he destroys the planet, but I guess that also means, considering their sequels to this game, this also cannot possibly be the canon ending. While interesting, and a great characterization for Raiden, it obviously is just a joke ending.
Liu Kang wins.
After defeating mighty Goro and putting an end to Shang Tsung's rule over the tournament, Kang is able to return the contest to its rightful hosts, the Shaolin Temples. Kang's heroics will always be remembered. He will continue the traditions of the Shaolin Temples and restore the true pride and respect of this once great tournament. So really there's not a lot to this ending. Liu Kang beats Shang Tsung, Liu Kang gives the tournament back to the Shaolin monks, but he also now runs the tournament and he's a good boy. That's his entire ending.
Sub-Zero wins.
After receiving the title of Grand Champion, Sub-Zero disappears back into the shadows from which he came. His only goal in the tournament was the assassination of Shang Tsung. He was paid a large sum of money by one of Tsung's wealthy enemies. With his mission accomplished, Sub-Zero will collect his fortune and retire from his dangerous profession. So, Sub-Zero story? Pretty open and shut. He's a ninja, maybe Lin Kuei, comes to the tournament, kills Shang Tsung, becomes very wealthy, stops being a ninja, lives a life of luxury. That's pretty much open and shut. We know the entire story of Sub-Zero now. Done. We will never have to bring him up again.
Scorpion wins.
Marked for death years ago by the Lin Kuei, Scorpion was murdered by Sub-Zero. He left behind a wife and child in his former life, but was allowed to return and avenge his death. Even with Scorpion's triumph in the tournament and new title as Grand Champion, the price he paid was high. He can never again know his family, and must exist forever with his secret curse of being a spooky skeleton. So Scorpion's has so much going on. Scorpion is a specter of some sort. He was killed by Sub-Zero. He came here to take revenge on Sub-Zero. It does not state whether or not he killed Sub-Zero, so we're gonna leave that open for now, I guess. But what we do know is that even though he's the Grand Champion, he is a cursed specter forced to walk the earth for presumably the rest of time, while being unable to see his family ever again. What year did Spawn come out exactly? Right. And Mortal Kombat came out in... Oh, come on, guys! Anyway, that also means that we have to revisit Sub-Zero, because this is a lot of lore for Sub-Zero that we didn't have before. Scorpions is one of the only endings that not only gives us backstory for the character, but also backstory for other characters. This is so great, actually.
Sonya wins.
Captured by Shang Tsung, Sonya's Special Forces unit was taken hostage. Their only hope was the tournament. Shang Tsung promised to release the entire team, only if Sonya could win the contest. Her victory not only released her unit, but also put an end to the Black Dragon and Shang Tsung's powerful grip on the tournament. I don't really understand the tournament. Like, okay, I follow Shang Tsung captures Sonya and her team. He forces them to fight in the tournament, she wins the tournament, this saves her team, and it also puts an end to Shang Tsung running the tournament. That all makes sense. I follow that completely. How does that stop the Black Dragon? How are the Black Dragon actually involved in this tournament? Other than they do crime? I guess? I don't know what any of that means. That all aside, we really don't actually get any more information on Sonya than we really had from her bio. We know that she's part of the US Special Forces, she got kidnapped. She ends the Black Dragon. That's all we really get from both her bio and her ending. So really not that much there for her. Okay, so now's the part where we get to put all the pieces together. And the first part of that is just completely eliminating all the endings we know are bogus. Okay, so let's start with Johnny Cage. Joke character, ending is a joke. Done. Get him out of here. Raiden ends the world. Obviously that is not the ending to Mortal Kombat, considering there's Mortal Kombat 2. Done. Get him out. Finally, I'm gonna knock off Kano, because his ending is nonsensical, and I can't imagine it playing into any part of any future game, because obviously, the world didn't fall into anarchy, and the Battle of Sans Undertale never happened. From there, we can actually start piecing together the things that make sense and are plausible, and start to put together an actual timeline of events. So the first thing we absolutely know happened is that Goro beat Kung Lao, the former champion of Mortal Kombat. This allows Shang Tsung to control the tournament for the next 500 years, seizing full control, taking it from the Shaolin monks, and beginning to corrupt the tournament itself. Sometime during that 500 years, Sub-Zero of the Lin Kuei ninjas kills Scorpion. We do not know why he does this, but we do know for a fact that he kills the absolute out of Scorpion. We also know that at some point, He just comes back on a mission to avenge his death and, I guess, to never see his family again. For some reason, Shang Tsung goes to find the Thunder God Raiden and invites him to come to the tournament. Also, for some reason, Raiden agrees to do this. While that's going on, Liu Kang leaves the White Lotus Society, signs up for the tournament to represent the Shaolin with the hopes of taking down Shang Tsung and returning the tournament to the Shaolin monks that once hosted it. In the meantime, Kano and Johnny Cage also kinda just show up because they are also participating in the tournament for reasons that are not entirely clear, to be honest. What is clear, however, is that Sonya and the US Special Forces are chasing Kano, which lead them to the tournament where they are quickly captured by Shang Tsung and his standing army that he apparently has. For their freedom, he will force Sonya Blade to compete in the tournament. At some point, Sub-Zero also gets an assassination contract from one of Shang Tsung's many enemies and heads to the tournament to kill him. He's then followed by Scorpion, who seeks his revenge. Then, assumedly, the tournament starts and fighting happens, though the details of that are a little fuzzy because that is the game itself. This is also where we have to start taking some liberties because obviously not every character can win the tournament. So we have to take the character endings and kind of dissect them and pull what's plausible out of them. So let's start with this. I think that it's pretty blatantly obvious that the canon victor of the Mortal Kombat tournament is Liu Kang, and I know at this point you're gonna look me dead in my eyes and go, Cardboard, you're full of shit. Your whole thesis statement was you weren't gonna treat this like you knew the canon, you were just gonna take it as the game itself at face value, and that was it, and you were gonna pull opinions from there. And I understand your argument, and I understand your rage that I'm imagining right now. But I also understand basic storytelling and themes and tropes. And I just think it's pretty obvious from a thematic point of view that the Shaolin losing the tournament to an evil wizard who then rules it and corrupts it for 500 years until a Shaolin monk that's pure of heart shows up to the tournament, defeating the evil wizard and returning the tournament into the rightful hands of the Shaolin is obviously what the canon story is supposed to be. That makes way more sense than Sub-Zero gets a lot of money, or Johnny Cage makes a Mortal Kombat movie, or Raiden does blow up the world, in fact. You can call it bias and say that, like, I'm retroactively looking at it because I know the lore, but if you look at all the other endings, it is abundantly clear that this is supposed to be the quote-unquote canon ending. Now, does that mean that all the other endings, there's nothing to pull from them? Not exactly. I think that it being so obvious that Liu Kang is the canon ending, it does make all the information in the other endings dubious at best. Though there is some stuff in there thematically that I do really, really like that I think should be part of the canon or is implied to be part of the canon, even though it's not in the canon ending. Like Sonya still catching Kano and putting an end to the Black Dragon, or Shang Tsung being defeated by Liu Kang, and then Sub-Zero coming up after the fight to kill him, and while he's imagining all the money he's gonna make, Scorpion comes up and gets his revenge and kills Sub-Zero. Even the stupid stuff, like there's no information presented that would stop Johnny Cage from going home and making a Mortal Kombat movie about his time in the tournament. And I do think it's still cool characterization for Raiden, that he's a lunatic who does not care about human life. I don't think his ending not being the canon one takes away from that at all. And that brings us to the end of everything we can pull out of Mortal Kombat 1. And honestly, originally for this video I'd planned to go into Mortal Kombat 2 and Ultimate MK3. However, this took me so long to put together. So I think I have to release this in 3 parts. I had a lot of fun working on this, and I'd really like to make more content like it. So if you like this video and you want to see me keep going, please interact with the video, like it, comment, subscribe maybe even, that'd be cool. But really, any kind of interaction means the world, and thank you so much if you made it this far into the video. And I hope to see you in part 2, coming soon. But spelt with like a K, like Mortal Kombat. You know how Mortal Kombat always spells things with K's even though they're supposed to be C's? You get what I mean.